All right, recording in progress. Welcome everybody to today's meeting. Exciting agenda ahead of us.
Yeah.
And let's start with welcome and introductions, starting with Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff Adams, City of Cannon Beach.
Steve Wright, Mayor Seaside.
Stuart Emmons, architect in Astoria.
Barb Knopf, Mayor of Cannon Beach. Elena Cochran, Councilor in Gerhart.
Jeff Lurie, Seaside.
John Roberts with City of Astoria.
Robert Sinclair, City of Cannon Beach.
So that's all 8 of us present here. So let's jump over to online participants.
My name is Kevin Schluka. I live in Tillamook County. I'm presenting on the Thompson Springs project in Nehalem.
Elizabeth Adams, Astoria City Council, Ward 3.
Leanne Thompson, Clatsop County Commissioner, District 5, and LCDC Coastal Commissioner.
Gail Henriksen, Community Development Director for Clatsop County.
Hey, I'm Garrett Phillips with Crest.
Well, I think that's everybody. Welcome, everybody. So I think we'll just move into our next item, which is Thompson Springs Housing Project. And Kevin, and I don't see Julie, but take it away, Kevin. Glad you're here. Glad to see you.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't think Julie will be joining us. She is somewhere deep in the woods, I believe, right now. So you'll have to make do with me. Can I share my screen? First of all, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. And
Yes.
can everybody see the first slide for the Thompson Springs presentation now? All right, great. Okay, well then let's get started. Let me make sure that I can move the Thompson Springs slides around. Great, okay. Well, good afternoon. My name is Kevin Schluka. I serve on the Housing Advisory Committee for Sammy's Place and the Thompson Springs Project. I'm also now a Sammy's Place board member. I'm excited to share with you some of what we're accomplishing with this innovative development on 3 semi-forested acres overlooking a little bit the Nehalem Bay. There is going to be 10 semi-detached, what looks like essentially 5 duplexes, semi-detached homes available for ownership. And we hope there will also be a clubhouse style building to accommodate gatherings and socializing amongst our homeowners, although fundraising efforts to make that happen are still underway. So we all know that affordable housing is desperately needed in Nehalem and throughout the Oregon coast. Tillamook County, Clatsop County, and Lincoln County are among the least affordable counties in the state, with some of the highest rates of housing insecurity in Oregon. We are, however, making inroads, as you all know, for long-term, attainable, affordable rentals. But tonight I want to emphasize something even more specific, and I think even perhaps more dire, and that's not just affordable housing that we need, but affordable and accessible housing. 1 in 4 Americans lives with a disability. Yet only about 1 in 20 apartments is required to be physically accessible. And the numbers grow as we age. More than 50% of Americans over the age of 75 live with some form of disability. If you live on the coast, you already understand the challenges of aging in place here. Transportation is limited, services are dispersed, weather can isolate, and the homes that were built decades ago are usually not designed for our changing mobility needs. But disability is not limited to aging. Disability can occur at any time. It's often said that disability is the only minority anyone can join at any moment, through accident, through illness, or simply time. The housing crisis and disability live hand in glove, each exacerbating the other. And affordable housing remains even further out of reach for the IDD community, individuals with intellectual and developmental disability. They often earn 30% or even much less of area median income, with little or no means to emerge from poverty. The Thompson Springs project is intended to be a model for building affordable and accessible housing using the principles of universal design. This strategy looks beyond mere compliance. This is about building homes for quality. It's about building homes for dignity, to endure, and to accommodate. Thompson Springs will be an affordable, accessible housing community in North Tillamook County, a collection of beautiful homes for home ownership in a stunning setting built intentionally for people of all abilities and disabilities integrated. So what is universal design? Universal design is the creation of products and environments and systems that are accessible and usable by all people, regardless of age, ability, or background. This moves beyond ADA compliance. ADA sets minimum legal standards, but universal design asks a different question. How do we design from the beginning so that everyone can thrive here? It emphasizes usability, flexibility, long-term livability, and dignity for all users. So that might be level and easily navigable landscapes, might be wide doorways, zero-step entries, bathrooms that don't require costly retrofits. It's the accommodation of mobility aids without looking clinical. It's creating spaces that are adaptable to individual needs, even as those needs change. And yet, very few housing projects truly implement these principles in meaningful ways. Most developments build minimum requirements rather than long-term viability for the people and the populations they aim to serve. And I believe this happens at the developer's peril. Oftentimes, good design decisions result in a more robust, yet more adaptable home, better suited for a wider audience. I think using universal design principles and thinking thoughtfully about how we create homes for all kinds of individuals leads to units, apartments, complexes, neighborhoods that last longer and serve more people. I want to tell you a little bit now about Sammy's Place. Our primary focus is supporting individuals and families with intellectual and developmental disability, helping them to connect to resources, to each other, to learn, support, and be support towards the highest possible quality of life. In rural communities, especially along the coast, opportunities can be few and far between. Transportation barriers, workforce shortages, geographic isolation, and layered systems of care and red tape make everyday participation much more complex for people with IDD. We believe people should not have to leave their community to find belonging or opportunity. Thompson Springs was envisioned because housing is a foundational component of good health. Without stable housing, our programs can't flourish. Employment can't stabilize, community can't take root. We aim to provide diverse living options for individuals with IDD. A portion of these homes will be marketed directly to the IDD community. Sammy's Place is also raising funds and forming partnerships to create a home buyer assistance program and limited equity partnership opportunities so that individuals with IDD who are ready can experience the pride and power of self-determination through home ownership. But this is not a single population development. The remaining homes will be available to individuals across a range of incomes and abilities. There will be 10 homes, as I've said, ranging in affordability from 120% AMI to 60% AMI, and that's prior to the additional funds we're raising for the Home Buyer Assistance Program. Our goal is to make some of these homes available for no money. The result will be a community of equitable opportunity, a place where neighbors know one another, where triumphs and tribulations are shared, where support is mutual, and where dignity is built into the architecture itself. Thompson Springs is not simply a housing development. We hope that it's a model, proof of concept that affordability and accessibility belong together, that disability is part of the human condition, and that everyone has the capacity to make contributions to their communities in equal measure. Rural communities deserve innovative solutions, and that dignity should be a fundamental goal of our designs. So we believe this project can serve as a model for what coastal housing can look like when we build for everybody from the start. Thank you.
Okay. Great presentation, great graphics.
Thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions. It's a complex project. There's a lot of details I'm no expert on, but I'll do what I can to tell you what you need to know.
Yeah, Kevin, what are the size of the units?
What are the size of the units?
Yeah.
I believe the 1-bedroom units are in the 800 square foot range, and the 2-bedroom units are in the 1100 square foot range.
Right. Thanks.
Mhm.
And I might have missed this, but none of the 10 units are built yet, or are there some units built?
No, we're doing the site work now. Essentially, this is going to be developed as a planned unit development. So the site work and utilities need to be on site in order for us to do our initial platting. And then once the platting's done, we can apply for permits and start on the vertical construction.
So your land use approval process was a planned unit development?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think with the new state bill, there may be a different opportunity there, but the timing was such that the PUD seemed to be the best approach forward, which is complex and difficult. It would have been great if there was a different path, but I think ultimately individual platting and having this having this model is going to be long-term the best situation for our homeowners.
Is the model similar to the community land trust model, or is it kind of what are you modeling it after?
It is similar to the community land trust model. We will be we have an agreement with Proud Ground out of Portland to hold and operate the land trust. And unfortunately, this is sort of getting into a realm that I'm not particularly comfortable around the details. But yes, to answer your question, yes.
Gail and Elizabeth have questions or comments online.
Okay.
Great.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Gail. Yes, I have my hand raised. I'll pull it down. I just was curious on some other details, at what point transportation comes into this planning process when specifically looking at populations of people living with disabilities. I'm just curious at what point of the process is that transportation component involved?
That's a really good question, particularly when you're talking about sort of a rural development, because there won't be necessarily buses that come to the front door in this circumstance, and the Oregon coast isn't always walkable. So that we know that the ride share, not the ride share, what's the service that you can call up and get a ride, will service the building at this point, the development at this point, but I think that there's sort of a build it and they will come aspect to some of this work that is necessary to have a little faith in order to take steps forward. So transportation is one of those elements that once the population is there and the need is there, we hope that the opportunities increase. That's similar conversation around services and job opportunities. It's hard to get all the ducks in a row for a community of people that have these needs prior to building, and so building is just a component, one component in a larger recipe that needs to all come together for this really to be successful. Did that answer your question, Elizabeth? I wish I was more
Thank you for
articulate
answering
around
that. I just when we're specifically, yeah. Yeah, thank you. I know it's, when we're just we're specifically talking about people with disabilities for designing community for them, that you speak about these supports that we have in place. I just think about the supports of transportation, especially that rural piece. It's an incredibly important piece. And so thank you.
You're welcome. I'm afraid you went in and out a lot, but I got part of what you're saying, and if I could sort of just reiterate a little bit, I think that's where designing to a community and really trying to create an integrated community is so important, because those supports will happen more naturally if a sense of integration is there, and there's quality and comfort.
Okay. Hi, Kevin. Gail Hendrickson. I'm the Community Development Director for Clatsop County. I had a couple of questions. So how many acres of land do you have, and how did you acquire the land? Was it donated? Did you do a GoFundMe? How was that acquired?
There's a little over 3 acres, and the land was actually donated to Sammy's Place by Tillamook County. Um, I don't know how they acquired it initially, but it had been a homestead, and it was essentially a brownfield. So once Tillamook County deeded it to Sammy's Place, there are deed restrictions requiring some degree of affordability to be permanent affordability on the house, on the property. Once it was deeded, the DEQ really dug in and did an amazing job cleaning up the site. And so for a few years now, the site's been build ready and very, very beautiful. It's really a sweet spot.
Okay. And are you served by utilities from a city, or is it all well septic?
Nope. The city of Nehalem provides water and sanitary. Um, the water is a complex piece of the puzzle. We require minimum 1,000 gallons per minute, preferably 1,500 gallons per minute, and the pipes that service the property and the fire hydrant right now is it's closer to 200 gallons per minute. So there's a fair bit of utility work involved to actually close that circuit to connect to a main line about 700 feet away. And so the result will actually be better water pressure for the entire neighborhood and greater volume. And we're just starting in on that work now.
Okay. And I see Commissioner Thompson has her hand up, but just one more question. So are all the units permanently deed restricted, or only a proportion of them?
I think all the units are permanently deed restricted.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a comment, if I might. This project has been, I think, it's a piece of devotion and love and endurance from so many community members. I mean, you're telling us about the technical details, and all the questions are good questions, but I've been hearing about this, and I know several of the parties involved, and it was a series of community champions, individually and collectively, who have held the dream and worked the dream to get it to this point. I just can't be more pleased or proud of my neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. You're absolutely right. The people that made this happen, it was totally grassroots. It's grown. A lot of really great designers and professionals have joined in, but the credit is due to a scrappy group of local people who have just donated so much blood, sweat, and tears to this project, and it's really paying off. It's really making a difference. Me too.
Kevin, I know you mentioned you're still raising funds, but high level, what's your capital stacking looking like? And kind of, what are the major incentives or that you've received from the city or state?
So the biggest contribution is lift funding from OHCS, which is somewhere in the realm of $2 million. And then we've got another $1.5 million or so from private foundations that have helped along the way. Tillamook County has helped with some grant funding and the land, of course. And then there will be some financing from Summit Bank until we're able to convert the construction loans into permanent home loans.
You have to pay. Oh, pardon.
Sorry, the remaining funds, and we did actually, I believe, just get some additional funding, awarded some additional funding from Biz Oregon for an infrastructure grant that'll help with the right-of-way work and the water connection. And I forgot the point I was going to make.
Good stack.
Did the city require SDCs, or do they even have SDCs, system development charges?
Yeah, no, of course. Yes, there will be SDC fees. Yes, the city does. But compared to other projects I've experienced on the coast, they were not unreasonable. And the city of New Halem's been great to work with, and Tillamook County has been great to work with.
How many years is the deed restrictions?
You know, I don't know. I am under the impression it's permanent, but it could be 99 years. That's not a detail I ever knew.
Okay.
Well, thank you for letting me share this project. I'm just so excited. We're at a very exciting stage. It's going to be an amazing project with a huge impact for a long, long time, and I'm happy to sing its praises.
Thank
All
you.
right. Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Okay, the next item was the DLCD housing production grant, overviewing the sites, and we'll hand it over to Gail to tee that one up.
Sorry, I'm working one-handed here and I'm a little bit slower than usual. So anyway, I just wanted to take an opportunity and let the other planning directors talk about the sites that we're going to be looking at as part of our continuation grant that we got from DLCD this year, technical assistance. And this builds off of the grant that we got in 2023 that the cities and the county participated in to look at buildable lands, housing inventory, and infrastructure restrictions and needs throughout the county that were preventing the construction of housing. And so we completed that work in 2025, and then DLCD was gracious enough to supply us with more technical assistance for the next 2 years. This one is to build upon that work and look at 1 to 2 sites per jurisdiction, and we're calling them opportunity sites. And what the consultant will be working on is to identify constraints associated with the property, whether that's regulatory or topographic or geographical, and to develop some very preliminary development scenarios for the sites and look at market feasibility. And so we have drafted a second scope of work, which is under review by the state right now. And then we would be hoping to really kick it off in March and get the project rolling. So the sites are listed alphabetically by city. So just to give you a heads up, John Roberts, you're going to go first. And the planner in me didn't think to put the aerial in. I was more focused on the zoning because I thought if I were a planner talking about these sites and didn't have my zoning map in front of me, I would want to know what the zoning was. So I apologize for not having the aerials. So, but John, if you want to talk about your sites and maybe some of your larger concerns that you raised as part of this process.
Yeah, you asked for 2 slides, so I gave Robert 10. I don't know if you uploaded my PowerPoint.
I've got it.
Yeah, no, it speaks to your point about zoning, and this is good exercise. It forced me to try to get out in front of something that will present to council or our planning commission or whatever. But yeah, so Gail did ask for 2 sites, so I think I originally sent you 9 or 10, Gail. So.
or maybe closer to 12,
Virtual.
along with a lot of commentary.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Hey. So here's our quick overview. Right, yeah, I looked at the grant award from DLCD and it said Housing Development Opportunity Site Strategy. So two sites we're selecting, one called Columbia Field and the other called the Central School Sites. So the Columbia School Site, this could be timely, and because of this award, we've already been able to advance and nudge some conversations forward with our local school district. Let's see if we can, and there it is. So, yep, there's kind of a visual. It's out right across from Safeway, there east side of town. And it's right below the kindergarten cop school, also known as the John Jacob Astor Elementary School. So there it is. And so you might have heard, but we have momentum going with the Customs House site there to the west or left, an acre, and that RFP will be going to council for approval March 16th for land trust development, cottage cluster type development. And then over here is just a ball field and tennis courts. It's known as Columbia Fields, and 3 tax lots together is a little over 3 acres. Next slide. And so why this is timely is the Customs House, you can move on, is I think sort of casting the die, setting the tone, and just already had some really good conversations with council about their vision and the guiding principles. So that is already, again, sort of establishing a tenor of what we might envision. And our next steps with the RFP is actually to both meet with the neighbors and issue that by the end of March. But you can see that was like one of the concepts there at the Customs House sites. Yeah, middle housing, cottage clusters. Next. And so if you're looking at sort of what we're wanting to do with Customs House, that would lead over to the other areas. Townhomes, cottage clusters, duplex, triplexes. And I think the focus would be workforce housing, or to us, that means 80 to 120% AMI, and great location, and all considering knowing Astoria, minimal infrastructure issues compared to other parts of town, and minimal sort of geohazard environmental constraints. And then this was one of the people that expressed interest in the Customs House site submitted this, and they were the only ones that took Customs House and said there could be a larger vision here. So that is kind of what we're running with. And when you think about it, it's like, you're right. Although their vision isn't necessarily residential, moving into the school properties, it was more commercial oriented. It's adaptable, right? But they noticed that it's a great gateway sort of area into town, and a lot of potential. So, already in preliminary talks with the school district in acquiring the properties, asking them what they'd want out of it. And we said, hey, we restrict 1/3 of the properties to school employees. And superintendent was like, done, we got a deal. So, but it could just be a great sort of planning exercise in developing those 3 acres, and combined with Customs House, you got sort of a cool 4 to 5 acre development going on.
Hey, John, can you back up? Where's Safeway here?
It would be, so there's the Best Western where it says hotel.
Yeah.
And so Safeway would be right due west of that hotel. Like just west of 34th Street would be.
Just off the screen.
Yeah,
Okay.
right, yeah.
Where's the Customs House? Is that,
It's the one that says phase 1 in the red there, is Customs House.
and that's staying where it is?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So that's what's going out for the RFP soon.
And was the school the owner?
Yeah, the school owns all 3. Yeah.
There's talk about prefab for these?
For Customs House RFP.
Yeah.
That necessarily didn't come up,
Okay.
but
It's sort of
it
rumor.
will be entertained. Prefab and modular will likely get lower ranked in the RFP, but definitely open to it. So, yeah. And then here's our second site called the Central School Site, smack in the middle of town, almost directly up from City Hall, but between 8th and 10th, and between Irving and Jerome, if that means anything to you. But yeah, get a sense of where that is in town. And the next one would be, yeah, there's a closer look. It's combined about 2.5 acres, and I think we all have similar experiences. This property has been sitting vacant for quite some time, and it's called Central School Site because it used to be a school. And you gotta think to yourself, why does it continue to sit vacant?
How stable is that land?
That's part of why it continues to stay vacant. It's in a, and there's actually two driving factors. So it's, a big for sale sign on it, right? And we get interest frequently, meaning quarterly, people coming in to set up meetings, to discuss the site with us. But out of the gate, it has some unique infrastructure issues with water, specifically water and hydrants. It's in this sort of purgatory in terms of our infrastructure design or existing that creates awkward flow and pressure in the system. So it's a big infrastructure consideration to design around out of the gate. And then the second is it is identified in a high landslide area. So, that too adds initial engineering and design concern. And so those are two big
Would
ones.
you have to go with pilings to make it stable? Is there bedrock down there?
I don't. So, yeah, I mean.
Is there a geo report on that site?
No.
Hmm.
No. And so all design considerations, it all hinges on, what type of unit you're building, what you want to put in there, but great, the opportunities are great in terms of the location, infill, ability to sort of design with historic character and neighborhood scale. But yeah, just a lot of sensitivities, which is why this
What is that zoning there?
it's is it up there? It's R2, I believe. But right with Senate Bill 1537 and choose your density, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure the neighbors would be ecstatic about their views getting blocked, but thanks 1537, it's the public input's going to be limited, right?
Yeah.
And that's just the framework, the governor's framework.
That's different than it was when they were looking at it
Yeah.
earlier.
Right.
Good
So
point.
all that kind of goes away. Some might think that's good, some might think that's bad, but again, even historic design review required at a staff level, they're like, we have to do that. It's like, no, you don't. We don't have to do that. But we'd promote it, obviously, like, hey, let's try to design a tasteful project. But right. Yeah, so we're excited for the study, and I think it's a great opportunity, and that's what we're looking at currently.
Right. Thanks, John. I see Commissioner Thompson has her hand up.
I do. Yeah, because all of the vectors of impulse from the governor and the legislature and some pushback on the parts of some neighbors, that's an interesting dynamic. But if you work on the infrastructure issues for the water in this development area, could it have a beneficial impact on the other neighbors in that surrounding area, or is it irrelevant to them?
Right. A successful development there would only enhance the infrastructure for the entire neighborhood around it. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I would hope that would be a positive for the neighbors and they'd see that.
Right. Yeah. And right now, again, it's we would scope something that would be well designed and fit in with the neighborhood, but good planning process too would involve the neighbors, and I'm sure we would do that. But we'll see. It's again, through the study, we'll really be able to drill into the true cost of site preparation. So,
Don, it's showing the yellow zone, not the red zone on that property,
Right.
so it's better.
Better,
landslide wise.
All right. Well, thank you, John. Next up, we have Cannon Beach. So Jeff, I'm going to turn it over to you. I don't know if you had your own PowerPoint as well.
You know me, Gil. Just give me the opportunity.
Here it comes.
Let me have it.
Okay, 40 slides later. Fly through. No, I just put the basics together because, we have, like you said, where John had like 12, we may concede one of ours to John, because we really have such limitations, and this came, I think I got email the day after I started, and it was Gail saying you're late to get these in. So I just ran it by our city manager and on what they had done kind of before, the discussions before when I was here before. So next slide there. So our first one is the RV park, which, I think most people are familiar if they've been through Cannon Beach. You guys know, they're east of the one of our exits there into Midtown is the RV park on the other side of the highway, 101, and it's a 9-acre total site. I know we have in preparation for a meeting we're going to have called Housing Opportunities. We're going to have 3 different kind of approaches. We've asked to come speak to our city council, and this is one of them that we gave them. And, some of them are saying they only really want to, look at 3 acres or so. And I know there's always discussion within our community about, can we keep some of the RV function as part of this? So anyhow, 9 acres, the elevation there, the reason we put that is in the tsunami zones, because the first time we looked at these things, we were looking at it in consideration also with City Hall and police, our police department relocating from within the tsunami zone. And that's back when you had to pay attention to those kind of things. But this was kind of one of the better ones because it was on the other side of the highway. No landslide. There were rumors that, there's a lot of fill and all that, but we have some reports that were done back when I think they were looking at it as a school site, and it did not show anything significant. So it is a pretty good site. It's one of our few kind of city-owned sites. So that's the first one we turned in. Now, speaking of housing opportunities, the next one should be called housing constraints. Because the next one that's just showing the contours there, is Southwind. So this is where they currently have put the new police department's being built. So if you guys driven by there, this is that site. It's the remainder, there's 53 acres there. What's buildable, it's questionable how much is buildable. We have some fairly recent reports. And so, Gail, that was my other question is, if we have these reports and everything, do you want us to get those reports to you, or how should we do that if we have some numbers that they've run on some of these things as well?
Yeah, I would expect Steve will probably be reaching out to each of your jurisdictions separately to talk about your sites. So, hey, hang tight for a little bit.
Okay, because and then that was going to be my next question is if after seeing this, our mayor decides that we want to put in a different one, because this is not my favorite site either. Because when we did these reports looking at replacing City Hall there and police station and everything, well, we put the police there, but to really develop this out, they were saying we'll have to do a new access onto Highway 101. I think the number at that time was about $6 million in kind of infrastructural, and that's just the infrastructure at, minimal access points and lots of ravines, lots of topographic, lots of landslide issues. So, I would prefer myself if we were to put in another one where we look at one of our downtown or other, I think like the Tolovana State parking locations, and say, what if we did housing above these kind of things and parking below, but just some other site than this one, even if it's Spruce. You didn't hear me say that. But other, because this is, I just don't think it's ever going to happen, but I don't either. So Gil, is there, if he calls up and says, we're ready to go and he's looking for a second site, are we able to talk ourselves out of that or give them one of John's third sites? 'Cause honestly,
I
it
think
was,
you're gonna have to make that decision pretty quickly, Jeff.
okay.
Yeah, because we're already about a month behind on this, and so I think they're
Okay.
ready to move.
Well, we can go with this and I'll just give them my reports.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, though.
No, thank you. Okay, so does anybody have questions for Jeff about their two sites?
Do y'all have any scrape and build opportunities? Okay.
About that building on top of a parking lot, what do you think about that?
I mean, I think that that's a much better option than some of what we've got, opportunities. I mean, even that state's land there for, at Tolovana for the parking area, and that's a great area for something like that, or where we actually have City Hall right now.
So we're not moving City Hall.
No, not the new City Hall, where we're temp City Hall, down there.
Yeah.
But like they looked at in fact, the first place they looked for affordable housing in Cannon Beach was that parking lot that is behind our post office in that area, where the new El Paran is. So, yeah, I mean, that's at the other, and they thought at that time parking below and affordable housing. That's about all we got though, yeah.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Any other questions for Cannon Beach, Jeff? All right. Seeing none, next we've got City of Gearhart. And Garrett, did you put together a presentation?
Yeah, I do. I have a few slides.
Okay.
Right. Oh,
All right. So for City of Gearhart, we have two sites to discuss. One we call the Cottages, which is outside of the UGB at this time, and one we're just calling Halila Road. So for the Cottages, this would be a UGB amendment, and that process has not begun. And the city is evaluating some different options with the property owner on how that would or could happen. There's multiple different pathways provided in state statute for bringing property into the UGB, and they each have different advantages and disadvantages and qualities. So in any case, the site's about 34 acres at the north end of Gearhart, and it abuts US 101 and Highlands Lane. There's no existing development. There are wetlands on the east side of the property that probably prevent much or all development and access from US 101 in that eastern nub you might see there on the right side. Those are wetlands that are part of a larger complex you would see on a city map of wetlands that are sort of linear in nature and run north to south in between the city's sand dune ridges. And they're locally significant to the south in the city of Gearhart, and I think they're Goal 17 significant wetlands to the north in the county, or perhaps on this site as well. There's also Neocoxie Creek floodplain, wetlands, and riparian area over on the west side of the property. And there's some potential to develop lots west of Neocoxie Creek, although it's pretty constrained with the floodplain and those environmental concerns. And the property is already designated, I forget the county zoning, but it could be developed now under county zoning at lower densities than it could be developed conceivably under Gearhart's lowest density zoning. So in Gearhart, we have our single family zone is R1, is what it's called, and it provides for minimum 10,000 square foot lots, single family homes only, no duplexes, no accessory dwelling units even. And that's partly related to our history where we don't have a central wastewater treatment system or wastewater network in Gearhart. All uses in Gearhart use septic systems, typically individual on-site septic systems. So 10,000 square foot residential lots is a pretty standard format in Gearhart. What else to say about this? The city has some overall water supply constraints that we're working on with the Oregon Water Resources Department. We're thinking about what an appropriate UGB pathway might be. And that could include UGB amendments under SB 1537 that would include affordable housing, or it could not include affordable housing. So that's an overview of the cottages site. One of the pathways, I guess two of the pathways we're considering would involve an exchange with other land that is inside of our UGB and that is also zoned R1, but that is not really developable because it's in the beach and dune area, but it's technically eligible for an exchange anyway. Or again, we're also just considering doing an addition to our UGB without an exchange. So all options are on the table at this point. This is the Halila Road site. It's at, you could say, the intersection of, Halila Lane and US 101. And it's inside the city, inside the UGB. It has that R1 zoning for minimum 10,000 square foot lots. And we've seen a concept for 13 dwellings taking access from Halila Lane. Perhaps there's opportunities for more than that under existing zoning. Again, remember R1, there's no duplexes, no ADUs, and no other residential uses provided in the conditional use list in our R1 zone. So it's really single family homes is the existing zoning. There's no floodplain. There's a non-significant wetland marked in green there on the map along the right side of the property. And main issue that we have right now with this site is a water system constraint, where the city is going to need to extend an 8-inch main from the edge of this property. Excuse me, I'm sorry. You have to stop doing that, please. Yes. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay, so we have a water system constraint where to provide enough capacity for the dwellings to use and for fire safety, an 8-inch main that currently goes from US 101 to the edge of this property will need to be extended east to McCormick Gardens Road. It's about 1,600 feet, and the city is working on obtaining a design to do that project. But that's a problem right now in terms of being able to move forward with anything here. What else? I think I'll leave it at that. I'm interested in seeing other concepts here that could utilize the space to provide a few more dwellings. A drive or private road coming off Halila Lane would be more than 150 feet down to the south end of the property. So it has to be a fire apparatus access road, compliant access. And if you just imagine like one driveway coming down to the south with sort of large lots radiating off of a cul-de-sac at the end. At first glance, it seems like an inefficient use of space, but so interested in other solutions there. Anyway, I think I'll leave it at that. Any questions?
Commissioner Thompson?
You know that I have constituents who have sensitized me to the desirability of protecting wetlands. So I have to ask, it's a minor wetland there. Will there be a negative impact on the functioning of that wetland in the natural ecosystem?
Yeah, so if someone applied for a development permit with the city of Gearhart to develop in a way that filled in that wetland or proposed homes even on top of the wetland, we don't have protections in our zoning ordinance to prevent that from happening because it's designated as a non-locally significant wetland in our local wetlands inventory. In the case of locally significant wetlands, it's simply not allowed to take an access through the wetland or to develop in the wetland. And in the case of non-locally significant wetlands, development would be allowed. If they were filling the wetland, however, they would have to get a permit from Oregon Department of State Lands. And I'm not sure if it would be a 50 cubic yard threshold for having to get the permit and mitigate, or if it would be considered, if it would meet one of their triggers for requiring a permit and mitigation for any fill at all. I don't know that at this time.
Well, thank you. And I didn't know if the legislation addressed the issue of wetlands that, Gail, I get so many bills. Sorry, I can't remember the one, the 1527?
Yeah, 1537.
Thank you. That one. Did they address wetlands at all in that bill?
I haven't read through the whole thing myself yet. Yeah. And I know there is some rulemaking going on regarding wetlands and urbanization. And Garrett, you might be more familiar with it than I have. It's really not impacting the unincorporated areas. So again, I've not followed it too closely, but
My recollection is Senate Bill 1537 does not allow any flexibility with Goal 5 protected resources. So you couldn't navigate or get a variance to the wetlands.
Thank you for knowing that.
Yeah, and again, that site at Halila Road is not in the county. That's squarely within the city and its UGB. If you were referring to the cottages, those wetlands would likely be protected and not touchable, based on what I see how the adjacent wetlands in the city are protected currently. Those are likely going to be locally significant wetlands all up and down Neocoxie Creek and adjacent to US 101.
any other questions or comments for Garrett? Okay, seeing none. Thanks, Garrett. Mr. Flory, you are up next. You have a presentation?
No, I do not.
Okay.
No, I did not prepare a presentation.
Hold on here. I have a slide for you.
Not that for his evaluation. Come on, like, all right.
Had to really search to find one.
You're firing me already? Initially, we looked at a concept of trying to redevelop the second floor of some of our downtown buildings, and unfortunately that didn't fit the grant, so I was told no. So I came back. We have a small site, This is located off of Highway 101, right around 4th or 5th Street, and it backs up kind of to the Neawanna Creek there. The zoning is medium density residential. It's, what is it, 3 platted lots, 4 platted lots. It does have a through access from one street block to the next to the north. Looking about 20,000 square feet. So nothing huge, not the acreage that some of the other sites that presented show. But as the city has begun doing a complete housing code update, where we're going to be looking at things like dwelling unit densities, middle housing cottage clusters, potentially parking requirements, lot size requirements. This small site and the concepts that could potentially come out of this grant could help show what can be done in Seaside if we start looking at doing infill projects, because we're running out of big development sites to build mass amounts of housing. We're gonna have to start cherry picking the small vacant lots that we currently have. This one is city owned. I have not dug into the history as to why we own it, other than we do have a sewer lift station and it's close to the creek there, that would need to be maintained, but it has city services, water, sewer, all right there on both sides of the property. And due to its unique shape, I think seeing some concepts of what could be done on this property will be interesting for us, especially as we go forward with housing code updates and how many houses could we fit on this small of a site, or how many dwelling units could we fit on a small site in different types.
Yeah, and then Jeff, immediately to the east of it, lot 5700, I think it is over here, is owned by the county, and it's entirely within the floodplain. It's about 1/4 of an acre, but I'm wondering if we could work out some sort of density transfer that could transfer that density over to the site to get you another unit.
Potentially, yeah, and I believe your county site is probably protected. It's probably never going to be able to be developed.
Mhm.
Based on the topography and the floodplain and wetlands that are in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that might be an opportunity for us to increase density right there too.
Mhm.
But like I said, we're starting housing code update that all these things are going to be looked at because our housing codes are so out of date and not compliant with state law. So this will give us some visuals, hopefully, and concepts of what can be done on small lots. A lot of our cities in Clatsop County are all kind of going to be looking at similar things as we run out of big development sites, where if we don't have massive UGB expansions, even if we do, our UGB areas to expand to are not very developable and not friendly because they still contain those natural disasters and hazards.
What is your building height, right there? Do you all know?
35 feet.
That's 35.
Yeah.
How, just with the R2, how many houses could you put on?
R2, we can go 10 dwelling units per acre.
Right.
And
then 20 for R3.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, but if we can look at a cottage cluster situation that gives us more dwelling units per acre, that would be something I would want to put forward to our commission and council, our planning commission, our council, to discuss and say, hey, is this something we want to look at changing our lot size or dwelling unit density requirements to get more housing and more different housing types on these smaller sites? And along with that, and I know the planners in the room probably see a lot of the similar things in their community, where we have a lot of vacant houses just in our core area sitting vacant. A lot of them are just wasting away because they're not being well kept. There's no incentive for people to sell them. They're typically second homes that may get visited once a year. If we change dwelling unit density and lot size requirements, I know several builders in our area that will be knocking on doors trying to buy up some of these dilapidated properties, because redevelopment, one house into 2 houses, is going to be financially feasible for them to be able to do.
Are there any rules with regards to a blighted house that is about ready to sneeze on and fall over?
We have a dangerous building code and we do utilize that to go after properties. But we gotta meet that threshold. And then if they continue to not, fix the problem, then it's incumbent on the city to fix the problem. And as we found, it can be sometimes difficult to recoup the cost because we're typically in a situation like that. We're not first position on the lien. We're usually second or third position. If there's a mortgage, we could be even farther down the list, which means we might put out the money to clean it up, but not get the money back from it.
But I put a couple, so thanks for the interview. So there's a group that's interviewing people,
Yep.
developers, and I got a call about the interviewed about the zoning and so on. So
It's three, so 3J's doing our code update.
it was 3J.
They're
right?
also the consultant on this grant too, so
Right,
they're,
so-
they're crossing over into both worlds here.
Okay, great. So I had, and I studied a story as to the zoning on the 10 and the in R2 and the 20 and the R3, really need to get looked at because it's not very dense.
No.
And so it'd be great if we could get those dialed up. And then on a totally different subject, I went into that second floor, I don't know, like 3.5 years ago. The blank second floors on Main Street. And it's expensive to develop, but it's there. And if we could find, I don't know how to find funding to make, I must have gone through with a developer or something, in that.
Which building?
It's on which one it was? It was pretty dilapidated upstairs. It was just a 2-story building.
Wasn't Gilbert, was it?
Might have been Gilbert. I have to.
Holiday Broadway?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
It's the Gilbert building.
Yeah, it was the Gilbert building. Yeah.
So the Gilbert building went through the planning commission last month and, there's 28 apartments going in there.
Oh, really? Okay.
We've got construction drawings into our office under review and
Awesome.
we've got some movement on that, which would be great.
Good. That's a
They're
good.
market rate, but it'll be great to see that building refurbished.
Yep. Okay, great. Thanks.
For what it's worth. Senate Bill 1537, right? It's predicated on needed housing and there's still no definition of needed housing. But it affords so much creativity and you could take any development and go in without any effort, say you get 10% bonus density, 10% height increase and decrease setbacks by 10%.
Yeah, we've used it
Okay.
several times
Yeah.
already.
That's the big one.
Parking as well.
It's a total adjustment to park.
That changes everything.
Right, so that amending the code, yeah.
Yeah.
Does any community on the coast or in the Clatsop County, do we have any that have a minimum density in any areas or in their codes? You all up in the school area, John, or, like a minute, in other words, you have to at least do 10 years per or whatever.
Oh, no.
Well, I mean, when I was talking to them too, single family houses are allowed in R3, for instance, and maybe
Yeah, that's what I mean. Do
right.
we have?
We ought to say-
Not yet. That will be something that's gonna get discussed for our high.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at, yeah.
No,
Because I know with Senate bill, you can do whatever you want, but I mean, do we have anything that just puts that,
just be cautious, yes, the story code did that, whoever did it missed an important thing. But it's, yeah, you can establish those minimums, like go for 10,000 or 6,500 lots, but it has to be part of the new plat.
yeah,
So
yeah, not.
that's the
some
catch,
kind of
yeah,
grandfather.
but we've had several inquiries
Yeah.
on that.
And
But
Warrington
that's-
has had that too, where over in the Nygaard property, they're putting single family houses in on sites that could be denser.
Yeah. So, but it's in our code.
Okay.
Well, our higher density zone is all centered around our downtown, around Broadway, so almost all of the high density is right sandwiched in between the river and the ocean.
Can I bring in a comment from Javity?
Sure, yeah.
We can't keep saying that we want workforce housing while layering on regulation factors that make it impossible to build. If we're serious about affordability, we need to be serious about permitting timeline, infrastructure funding, and predictable rules. If I just put kind of the cart before the horse on this, far as what kind of hoops to go through once you've identified that this is really optimum, goal to approach?
I don't think so. I think a key term that you said though is infrastructure funding.
Yeah.
A lot of our communities have aging infrastructure, and you gotta be able to keep up with that and have the funds to keep up with that. And as the mayor mentioned, we've got the TLT split that's working its way through the legislature right now, and that could potentially help some of our communities throw money at infrastructure to bring us up to what our current needs are. And if we're talking about denser housing, that means we got to forecast for future needs as we do this. And you guys are talking about upsizing 1,600 feet of water line to eight inches. That is not a cheap endeavor, and it can get really expensive when you start talking about sensitive wetland areas and stream crossings. So I think a lot of what, at least what Seaside has been trying to do with our new comprehensive plan and our code update, is to try to bring in new types of housing that could create more housing, more creativity in our code. But again, we can't outbuild our infrastructure, so we have to be very mindful of that when we do it. And we also have to be mindful of creating more vacation rentals and less housing for a local population that can live here.
Yeah.
So these are all three things that have to work together. But outbuilding our infrastructure can be very detrimental if we don't get our handle on that. And to get our handle on that, we definitely need the funding.
I'll give a quick counter argument to that, or something for him to consider. What are the four elements of a project? Land use, what we're talking about now, labor, lumber, and lending, right? Think of those three we have absolutely no control over, are the big ones, right? And if you could step back in the last 5 years, the legislature, I mean, yeah, local control has been stripped. I mean, I don't know how much further you could take it. And so that's why the tide is shifting actually in Salem to enable communities to take more local control back. And so it's just something to index. Is a lot of robust conversations around that.
Yeah, I just came from where there were no local controls, have never been any kind of local control within the entire county. And they're still not building housing. They're still not building housing, affordable housing. They're building, just like Cannon Beach, they're building resort homes for 3,000, 4,000 square foot homes for the rich. They're not building affordable workforce housing. And there's no zoning code that's stopping anything. There hasn't ever been. And so, I think that's the balance that like John said, there's other things going at this and it's keeping this from happening. And we can only do so much in the land side of things. Any place where people want to live right now and there's the financial backing from those people, they're just pushing out a regular workforce and those others.
And because of the timing, that's why the shot clock was introduced last session for engineering, Senate Bill 974. So now planning, building, and engineering, there's established shot clocks to get an approval out. So, yeah.
For the cottages in Deer that project just won't happen unless we get 100% of our water rights. We've had the application in for over 6 months and it hasn't been touched yet.
So you can approve it, Senate Bill 974. Developer has the right to act on it, huh?
That's an application to Water Resources Department, not an application to the city.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that makes it city.
Excuse me, I'm not leaving because I don't want to hear all of this, but I gotta go do budget now.
That sounds like fun.
Budget a raise for John.
I don't know, I didn't put a slideshow together, so I'm sure I'll do that later. I know at the state level, I think there's been a lot of discussion looking at ready-made plans. Well, ready-made plans work great in a perfectly platted grid city that's flat with no stormwater runoff issues and no geotechnical issues. And it just, they are not gonna work very well in Seaside. Even, even if we wanted to make this happen, our lots that are still buildable, unless we're talking redevelopment downtown, our lots that are still available and vacant are mostly all in geotechnical hazard areas or in a floodplain. So the ready-made plan scenario is not often going to be successful in some communities, especially coastal communities.
Say again those four issues.
So land,
Financing.
lending, financing,
Lending.
labor and lumber. Yeah.
Do we see a trend on the cost of lumber right now?
It's kind of a Stewart question.
What are your all's per square footage building right now?
We hear everything from $200 to $385 per square foot.
Yeah.
It's a huge swing.
We
3 to 4.
We hear like up to 500.
Yeah, I
in
know.
our area.
3.5 to 4 is what I hear a lot
Yeah.
in Seaside.
Used to be 300 before the pandemic, and now we're north of that.
Yeah.
Well, north of that. If we could find anybody to build it.
That's absent the engineering, sometimes the land cost.
Okay. Any more questions for Jeff or discussion about Seaside? All right. If not, I was the slacker in the group because I didn't put together 58 slides for each of my county's 2 properties, but I have an excuse. So anyway, we've picked 2 sites. As we talked about at our meeting last month, Warrenton right now is having some staffing capacity issues, and so they have opted out of participating in this grant and the opportunity sites. So one of the sites that the county owns actually consists of about 5 different tax lots, and it is in the city of Warrenton. It's approximately 23 acres when you combine these 5 sites. They're a mix of intermediate density, 5 units per acre, and high density residential, which is the orange kind of color up here. I didn't do a lot of infrastructure digging around in Warrenton or into their zoning code at this point, but we figured that was a good way to kind of keep Warrenton involved in the process, at least indirectly, and also to participate as the county as well. My wetlands layer didn't pull up, but I would probably suspect there are wetlands on there. And interestingly enough, it is not in a floodplain. So that was pretty good news. But so you could get feasibly quite a few housing units in here. There are a couple of platted rights away as well that could possibly be vacated. This is Ridge Road over here. So pretty close to downtown. And then the second site that we looked at was out in Napa area, so out on the east side of the county, south of Highway 30. This is Hillcrest Loop here for anybody who's familiar with the area. Highway 30 would be up here. And then this area here is currently a public works stockpile site for the county, and that's that area there. I'm thinking that if we carved off about 7 to 8 acres to accommodate the public works uses, that would still leave us with quite a bit of property. It's a 2-acre minimum property size because we are rural residential. We don't get to go down to 5,000 square foot lots. So we have a minimum 2-acre lot size. But you could conceivably probably get, doing the math, maybe 14. So, what, 20? I'm doing math here in my head, so maybe 7 to 8, 10 units at most. But it's an interesting site. It's pretty flat. It's no floodplain, no landslide, so it's a really ideal piece of land. There are up by Highway 30, there are some basic amenities, things like convenience stores and restaurants and things like that. The loggers up in this area. So, but those are the 2 sites that we're looking at. So I don't know if you have any questions about that. We're pretty limited in our density because we just don't have, by nature of state law, we just don't have high density areas. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry, where's that first site in Warrenton? Can you,
Hold on here.
you mentioned Ridge Road?
Yeah, hold on.
All right.
Nope. All right. Yeah, so let's see here. I think I got the map up. So it's up here. So you've
Okay.
got Pacific that comes in.
Uh-huh.
This is Pacific here. Pacific Drive. This is 4th Avenue, 3rd. This is Ridge Road, 9th, Lake Drive. Fort Stevens is over here. So I can take the zoning off. Yeah. And so up here, there's the person who owns these properties up here does a lot of housing development and has often inquired about these sites down here. So there's even further potential for more collaboration, possibly up with these two parcels as well.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions about the county sites? All
Yeah,
right.
Gail, you said the Warrington ones were on water and sewer?
They should be on water and sewer. I haven't dug into the infrastructure over there too
Okay,
much, so, but I can't see why they wouldn't be.
yeah, and you said the low end was like 5 acre or 5 units per acre. What's their high density?
It
What?
it depends on the housing type, so there's different varieties. So hold on here. So for the high density residential, so let's see here. For a single family detached, it's 4,500 square feet. If it's a townhome, it's 2,500 square feet. Triplex total requires 7,500 square feet. So it looks like the largest lot size would be 10,000 square feet for a multifamily dwelling. Commissioner Thompson, sorry.
Thank you, ma'am. I was at a hearing at the legislature and listened to Mayor Balancy first say if the legislature didn't give him some money, Warrenton wasn't going to be able to absorb more housing capacity because they needed more infrastructure capacity to the other points.
More
So-
sewer? It was around the sewer system?
It's both, but I wouldn't swear to it. It's a 2-minute limit, so he's, kind of pounding it in there, but I do, I think it's worth considering that aspect as well.
Yeah, so part of the grant project will be looking at all these sites and the constraints that are associated with them. So, and identifying that. So if there's maybe an upgrade that could be done, to upgrade a water line into a particular piece of property. I mean, replacing or upgrading the entire sewer system to create capacity for the entire city is probably beyond the scope of what our grant will cover, but the infrastructure will be looked at as part of this, Commissioner Thompson.
So I was sitting here trying to do the math. So 2 sites in Astoria, 2 in Cannon Beach. 1.52.
1.5.
2,
2.5.
2 in Gerhart, 1 in Seaside. Seaside.
One
get
in Seaside.
2 in Warrington, or 1 Warrington, 1 Clatsop County. So that's 9 sites total.
Mm-hmm.
Could round up to 10 and give Astoria another one.
Yeah.
Take a while.
Top 10.
I'll see you my 0.75.
All right.
That's where my work is.
But you know, potentially, I think between the 10 sites, I think we could easily get 100 units in.
Oh, easily, yeah.
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 I'm going for 1,000.
How many? Sorry.
I did the math for Gearhart, just that 10,000 square feet and got like 160 cottages. Yeah.
Person we spoke to said 60 on 3 acres of the 10, so.
60.
So, yeah, you want to recap next steps or close this conversation out?
Yeah, so real quick, our next steps. The scope of work, second draft of the scope of work is under review by DLCD right now. As soon as they get the go ahead, then 3J, which is our consultant on the project, will kick it off. The 3J is going to be working collaboratively with all of us, but also meeting individually with the cities and with the county to talk about the sites and to work out different issues. And so you should be expecting a call from Steve Faust at 3J, probably, I would say, within the next month.
Okay.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
grant is scheduled to wrap up a year from March, so March of 2027.
All right. So I think that concludes that update. There was nothing else on the agenda. If I remember right, the next meeting would be planner set drink. March meeting would be for planners to meet. And that we could discuss virtual probably sounds like the way to do that. But this group would then meet again on April 22nd. Does all that sound right?
It does, yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, we'll let Garrett coordinate. Thanks, Garrett, or we'll discuss this Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome. We have Parker Salmons from Tillamook County has agreed to come for our April 22nd meeting to talk about housing development in Manzanita. And he might be able to bring the developer with him.
Great.
Parker's been to some of our meetings before and has presented before. And the planners will talk about whether there's anything else we can drum up for April 22nd as well. And we were going to meet, it's your all's call. This Friday would be a regular meeting date for the planners. So,
Yeah.
Garrett, if you'd like to have Javity on a Zoom for that meeting, let's see if we can put that together if you'd like that.
sure, the representatives welcome at all these housing task force meetings that we're moving to having about every other month. So the next one would be April 22nd. And yeah, always welcome.
Cool, thanks.
It would be great to hear every couple months about this project as it moves forward.
Just an update.
Yeah, just an update.
Yeah, I'd be glad to do that.
So before we conclude, anything else for good of the order?
Just one thing, John, Gail, I got an email from Kai, is it Kai?
Froelich, yeah.
Yeah, from that, when we would like her, do you want us to see if she could be at our planners meeting in the March, or should we, I don't know where you guys left off with talking to her, I guess is where.
Yeah, I was supposed to reach out to her, so I kind of dropped the ball on that one, but I will get back with her. And we had talked at our last meeting following our one that we had in January about having her at our March planners meeting. So let me follow up on that.
Is that at least to locals?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
local.
Where we left off was we were 1 million short.
Okay.
Just for all matter.
All right, anything else? Good of the order? Any closing comments? Thanks, everybody, for coming.
Thanks, John.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Exciting times.
Thanks, Sean.
All right. Thanks, Robert.
Bye, y'all.
IT.
You have conversations with